Now, from the day you got picked, how soon did you have to report to the organization?
So once I decided to sign, which was like late August, the seasons were basically over. So like your short A was going to be done. It's at the time, short season would have done the first weekend, like Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
So I only had like 2 weeks. So the first thing that I did was I went to what was called Instructional League.
Yep.
So it was an 8-week like camp after the season was over. Oakland brought in like 60 players, 2 teams worth.
Yeah.
Of guys that were A-ball, double-A, to give them some extra work and things that they needed to work on prior to the next year coming up.
Gotcha.
So that was my initiation. I came down there. It was beginning of middle of September, probably. So I was thinking I was down there for 6 weeks.
Okay.
All the way till the beginning of November.
Okay. Yeah.
That was my initiation in the pro ball.
Did they bring you in as a catcher? Because I know you said you played a little bit of third base.
I drafted as a catcher. Yep. So my senior year, I caught every game.
Okay, gotcha.
Year, I played third base. We had a senior who did okay. You know, was a pretty decent athlete.
Yeah.
But we had a big hole at third base.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
I played third my junior year. Then the senior year, I went to catch.
Okay. Gotcha. So when you get to, I mean, where did they send you? You said you had to report to them for the instructional
spring training complex in
Arizona.
Yeah. It was in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
So
gotcha. Scottsdale.
They had their complex was tied in with Scottsdale Community College.
Okay. Yeah.
So all the way out there on one of the Indian reservations.
There you go. Now behind the plate, you know, you get there. I mean, first day or first training session, what do they show you? What do they teach you about catching that you didn't know beforehand?
Man, blocking, bare hand catching, how to set up, how to give a sign. Like as an 18-year-old kid, you walk in there and go, oh, you know, I know how to catch. I go, you don't know squat.
Yeah.
Let me teach you what you got to do. So all the catchers are working with each other, you know, whether it's the pop-ups, you know, blocking the ball, it's the footwork for throwing, all the different little drills. Obviously, you got to catch all the bullpens too, which
yes, sir,
to do. You know, and it's like so. In terms of that, I was just very naturally able to catch.
Okay, yeah.
So in terms of like what they taught, they didn't do a whole lot of teaching and revamping things. They basically kind of tweaked what you were doing, and then, you know, I'm 190 pounds. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, it's time to go lift. I'm like, what you talking about?
Let's get it.
Nothing about lifting.
You're right. You know? Yeah, man. Full-time job.
Yeah. So I remember guys like George Brito eventually he played in the big leagues. Couple guys, Greg Hensley, I think his name was. Like some of these guys that were at AA and A-ball already. And I'm like, oof, all right. These guys are a little bit bigger. They're a little bit older. I'm like, they're 25, 26. I'm like, I'm 18. I'm like, all right. Didn't have a car, you know, so I'm relying on a couple guys to help kind of like drive me around, you know.
Yeah.
Have to bunk up with them. There's like 4 of us in an apartment. I don't know anybody. So I shack up with 3 other older guys, sleep on the couch, and just be like, start to learn the ropes from them.
You're right.
You know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The biggest initiation came from a guy by the name of Ron Plaza, Plaza. He was in charge of like the Dominican areas.
Okay.
Called him Leatherneck. Old guy, no hat, drive, you know, fungo around. That's all he had. And, you know, throughout the course of the day, he had a little funky thing, and it took us a couple years to figure out what was going on. But he would sit out there and he'd put the fungo down in the ground, and, you know, he'd look up at the sun and he'd be like, Paz, what you doing? He goes, checking the time. I go, you doing what? It's like, yeah, checking the time. Paz, what time is it? He goes, it's 2:05. And then he called one of the other coach, what time is it? 2:06.
Oh,
what? Come on. And he would do this. It wasn't until like 3 or 4 years later that we caught him, that he had a little watch face in his back pocket. Look at it, put it back, and then he would do it. I go, Plaz, we got you.
Yes, sir.
Like, keep it quiet.
Right. Yeah, you got a new group coming up. You got to keep the legend growing.
The first thing, the initiation from him was you called him coach.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, coach, what's up?" He goes, "Don't. I'm not coach. I don't call you player, do I?" I'm like, "No, sir." He goes, "You can call me sir, but don't call me coach. Right. I don't call you player." I'm like, "My bad. My bad." Go. You got the quick initiation from Ron Plaza going, "Don't you dare call anybody a coach."
Yes, sir. There you go. There you go.
And it's when you strike out, you run back to the dugout, right? Grady Fuson, who was the national cross checker for them, he ended up being my first coach in short season A in Southern Oregon. He goes, somebody ran back to the dugout, and afterwards he goes, "What the hell are you guys doing running back to the dugout? What are you like upset, or what are you like? Are you embarrassed?" He goes, "You're gonna walk back because you're gonna strike out a hell of a lot more times. You keep playing this game, walk back. You ain't gonna run." I go, "We don't run here. That's college shit."
Right. Yeah, that's right. No, you're right. Okay. And that's what's so cool about being able to have these kind of talks, because, man, this didn't used to exist. Like, you don't get this kind of information unless you're in the pros. And, a lot of these kids that are coming up these days, I mean, they're becoming professionals earlier and earlier. They're getting lessons on a professional level at the age of 10, 11. So, you're starting to
getting the information way sooner than I got. It took me 14 years playing
to get it,
to give the information, to turn around and 10 years ago, give it to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or 20 years ago, give it to you.
20 years. Yeah.
So it's like, it took me 14 years to do that.
Yes, sir. And I found out that coach, Wayne Krasinski, I think I'm saying his last name right.
Krenchecki.
Okay, yeah, Krenchecki. Wayne Krenchecki. Yep. That's the one that was managing at the time over the Camden River Sharks in 05.
Yeah, he passed away about 10 years ago, I think.
Wayne Krenchecki. Yes, sir.
And that field's no longer there either. They tore it down.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. No, I didn't know that.
No longer there.
Wow.
Rutgers Camden took it over. And they knocked the whole thing down and just made it an AstroTurf field with just some fences.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, that was a beautiful field, man. Right underneath the bridge. And, I'll never forget it. That was my first time, getting out there. And
that was fun. The ball carried very, very well to right center.
It sure did.
But it was also 370 something to right center too.
Right.
And it needs to be a little shorter.
Right. Yes, sir. So, okay. So we get, you're there. You got your first taste of professional baseball. And I mean, as far as your schedule, I know it had to be a daily thing. I mean, did y'all have days off? I mean, was it a 9 to 5 type job? I mean, how did that look?
You play every day. There were no days off. You went in and you practiced in the morning time. Okay. Then you went in and you broke for lunch, and then you jumped in vans and went and played a game at 1 o'clock against all the other teams that were in the area. Okay. So you played 40 or 50 games over that course. Okay. So it was different because you're playing every single day.
Yes, sir. Sir. That's the grind. That's the grind right there. Now I mean, we're talking about the true nature of a catcher is gritty and just consistent, man. And your career is a testament to that. I mean, representation of that, because, man, you worked for 7 years in that organization with the Oakland A's before you were moved, right? You were traded to the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yep.
97.
It was 1997. I got traded. There are a couple things that happened. The Oakland A's, I didn't think were very forthcoming in what they actually told people in spring training. Like, hey, man, you're going to get an opportunity to play, and then you never got an opportunity.
Never got it. Did you get close to making it to the show with them at all? Like, I mean, get called up?
What I understand, in 1997, they signed a free agent called a kid by the name of Brent Main, who spent a number of years with the the Royals organization. Okay. Very flexible, smaller guy, really got down low, caught a specific way. Yeah. And I ended up having surgery in short season A. I had a tough time with a shoulder. My shoulder kept popping out. Yeah. And they wanted me to try to catch like him. I had a very difficult time. I was getting handcuffed. I couldn't catch. Yeah. And I eventually went back to my own way.
Yeah.
Okay. At the time. So I stopped there, but I was hitting. And I was hitting like 360, 370 at AAA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then just, I don't know exactly what happened, but I had a conversation with Pete Rickard, who was the pitching coach.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, I got traded or something. Like, I forget exactly how it all happened, but I'm like,
yeah.
He's like, well, I think you got traded or whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, back here earlier in the year, Billy Beane had called down, you were hitting well, and they wanted to know if you were ready to go to the big leagues. And the manager at the time, which was Gary Jones, okay, who, again, played up in the A-ball.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where we had a very bad relationship.
Yeah.
Said that he didn't think that I was ready to play at the major league level.
And you're in 360 in AAA.
And I'm like, what?
Come on,
I'm like, what are you talking about, Pete? He's like, yeah. He goes, I should be the one to determine whether or not I'm ready. Yeah. I'm proving it. I'm hitting 360. Yeah. I think I had like 11 or 12 home runs at the time. And I was catching fairly well after I got rid of all the stuff that I was doing. So this is about halfway through the year.
Yep.
And then eventually what happened was that there was enough stink that was made that I ended up getting traded. Now, at the time, AJ Hinch was in the Cal League, and he had, I think, halfway through the year, had like 25 home runs in a Cal League. So he was tearing it up. So they're like, well, let's trade Creighton. They brought up AJ Hinch to AAA. I then got traded to the Brewers organization.
Yep.
I don't even know for who at the time.
Yeah.
And then I was there for 6 weeks. The catcher that was there was Bobby Hughes. He was a first-round draft pick.
Okay.
Sal Bando was the GM, and Bob Melvin was like the roving catching guy.
Okay. Yeah.
So Bob Melvin was talking to me. This is like 5-6 weeks into it, like, Goops, we're trying to get you to the big leagues. We want you to come up. I'm like, well, what's going on?
What's up?
I was out playing the first rounder. I was still hitting 350 or so, playing down there, and I was throwing guys out like Terry Jones, another fast guy, like who had 85 stolen bases. Guys like, who's this Gubanich guy?
Yeah, gunning him out.
Getting around like guys, Jeff Jenkins, these guys that are in the big leagues at the time, going, yeah, man, they're getting ready to call you up. I'm going, ooh, this is great. I'm like, I got an opportunity.
Yep.
And then Sal Bando nixed it. Okay. They called up Bobby Hughes, and then I got traded to Colorado.
Yeah.
Or I finished off the Jeff Fuson trade.
Thank you for watching the FCO Show YouTube channel. Like and subscribe here to stay up to date with the latest highlights and clips and keep up with all things catching.